The Chinese population has, over the years, become one of the most prosperous peoples in the world. They've gone from nothing to becoming crazily rich, buying the most expensive properties to owning the most prominent businesses. These are evident in Southeast Asia, where Chinese descendants have become part of the elite society, seen as among the very billionaires. Furthermore, it has happened even though they're just a tiny part of the overall society in Southeast Asia. Amongst the region, there is a country where Chinese descendants have flourished far and wide, and arguably the most in the entire region. This is the archipelago nation of the Philippines, a country flooded with Chinese descendants, and has seen its economy prosper due to these people. As of the latest data from the Senate of the Philippines, Filipinos with Chinese ancestry comprise over 22.8 million of the entire population, a massive amount. Nevertheless, only 1.3 million are from the pure Chinese group. This is an excellent explanation of why there are so many Chinese Filipino billionaires. A study conducted by the Global Rich List found that almost 50%, or half of the entire billionaire list, comes from the Chinese diaspora. This number, which comes out to be 9 Chinese billionaires, is far more than that of every other Southeast Asian nation, besides Singapore. For example, Indonesia has 7 Chinese billionaires, Thailand has 5, Malaysia has 3, and Singapore is an exception, with 23. These billionaires within the Philippines have helped drive economic change, paved the way for billions of dollars of exports, and created millions of jobs and a long list of benefits. So how did Chinese Filipinos become so rich and so embedded within the society of the Philippines? To understand that, we must first seek out the history of the overall Chinese diaspora within the country. Early Han Chinese had a very long and deep interaction with the Philippines, after the two nations shared a unique geographic situation, one sought after by Chinese traders, as the Philippines was amongst the most popular trading ports worldwide throughout the last centuries. Their dominance within the economy and commerce was seen long before the Spanish colonial or even the American eras. Their earliest interaction began in the 9th century, when Han Chinese sailed across the Philippines Islands and went back and forth. Fast forward to the Spanish colonization, when the European superpower had found the Philippines. They too had already been quite intrigued with what they found. Not only did they colonize the Philippines, but to their surprise, a considerable part of its population had already bloomed with Chinese ancestry. Their population was nearly 10% of the Philippine population by 1894, but estimates may vary. Soon after the entrance of the 20th century, Chinese Filipino had officially gained their newfound identity, as previously they were only known as Chinese. But since they had helped the Philippines within the war, fighting as representative Filipinos, some of which were even within the Bataan Death March, had all helped their image increase. The US Army had even integrated them within their infantry regiments. During this chaos, however, the Chinese Filipino community was already in fact rich. They were already part of the elite society during the 20th century, and even before this century came. They were shrewd businessmen and had been acquiring businesses after businesses. It was reported that Chinese Filipinos dominated the entire retail trade and owned 3/4 of the 2,500 rice mills around the Philippines Islands. It was even estimated that the total resources of banking capital held by the Chinese in the Philippines were as much as $100 million, making it only second to that of the Americans in terms of total foreign capital investments. However, due to the issues plaguing the entire Asian continent, led by the Soviet Union's power and the rise of the Chinese Communist Party, their status as elitists falters. Then President Ferdinand Marcos, the father of the current leader Bongbong Marcos, would limit the Chinese culture integrated within the Philippines. Some have even been pushed away, calling them old monkeys. The Chinese schools in the Philippines were ordered to be closed, or limit their teachings to the Chinese language, culture, and history. However, these moments and painful years did not limit their rise. It might have played a vital role in driving their success. The Chinese Filipino community paved the way for famous individuals, such as Henry C., the founder of SM Corporation, as he would see his business flourish, opening supermalls after supermalls. The Gokong Wei family, behind the JG Summit Holdings, would also see their food and beverages business expand continuously. The Chinese Filipino community would enrich themselves and slowly pave the way for their status in the elite society. The most vital part was in President Marcos' tenure had ended, and the new upcoming President Corazon Aquino was when the Chinese would gain the national spotlight. President Corazon was tied to the Cojuangco family, a prominent Chinese clan that migrated way back in 1861. The family would soon see massive effects from this. Their clan members would become CEOs and chairmen of prominent businesses. Some would climb the political ladder, and all help reign in that Chinese background. Today, Chinese Filipino is vastly embedded within society. Not only are they within the elitist status, they too have their own culture, food, and language to be mixed with that of the Philippines. They hold prominence in politics and businesses alike. And not only are they within the very tops of the conglomerate rankings, they too are evident across different small and medium enterprises. Chinese Filipino business people are widely known for this. They are the best when it comes to dominating the economy and commerce. It is even reported that Chinese Filipinos are estimated to control 60 to 70% of the entire Philippines economy. While these can be argued, if we look around the country, we would see that from the very banking institutions, to the retail sectors to food and beverages, these products and services are produced and provided by Filipinos of Chinese ancestry. Just 9 billionaires alone are already within these industries. What more of the other small and medium enterprise holders that are unheard of? However, the most important of the 22.8 million Filipinos with Chinese ancestry is the direct link to ethnic Chinese. Overseas Chinese from the mainland emerged as recent migrants to the country. These Chinese ethnic backgrounds only comprise 1.3 million of the total population. Yet these small populations were the actual ones that were responsible for these enormous economic breakthroughs. SM founder and JG Summit were only a few recent migrants in the 20th century, yet they brought success after success to the community. Further reports have even found that these people were the ones who own over a third of the top 500 companies listed on the Philippine Stock Exchange, and of the top 1,000, 43% are owned by ethnic Chinese migrants. Now, Chinese Filipinos' prominent rise was due to many factors. They rose because of their long history within the Philippines, their culture of commerce and trade, and their so-called bamboo network, which was a term to conceptualize connections between businesses operated by overseas Chinese in Southeast Asia. This enabled them to spread out and go from rags to riches across the entire region. These are some arguments as to why Chinese Filipinos have become extremely rich. However, many would claim that their prominent rise was not all due to their skills. Some will even say that not all of them will become rich. Indeed, not everyone will. But the fact that this small population had gone from nothing to encapsulating the entire Philippine economy can already tell us a lot. Furthermore, while it is unheard of, we cannot also disregard the fact that some of the rises of these prominent men were due to their political connections. Many of these were documented across Southeast Asia, where the fame and glory of Chinese backgrounds rose due to political powers. However, all of that still cannot explain why the Chinese had become wealthy. How can the Chinese Filipinos become crazy rich when they only occupy a small part of the population? Furthermore, their documentation was even found to be discriminatory. Chinese in some nations of Southeast Asia had experienced discrimination. Was their success due to their history of hardship, or was it due to culture and the history of commerce and trade? Well, many arguments can be made for their rise to prominence. Nevertheless, one thing stands clear. Their service to the Philippines economy, by providing many benefits, will go down in history as one of the reasons why the country has flourished. It would not be easy to imagine what the Philippines would look like if they were not in the country after all. Without Chinese productivity standards, would the Philippines be as rich as it is today? Alternatively, many questions can go into this one, and the world may seem smaller than what it is, had it not been for the Chinese, as they are of course a massive country with a massive population. But anyway, these are just some of the points we had stated, and would like to hear about yours. Thanks for watching.